Today I'll be sharing with you some communication tips and considerations for working with deaf and hard of hearing students in the remote learning environment. These can apply obviously to being in person as well, but this presentation is specifically tailored to teaching online. First, some definitions. American Sign Language interpreters, or ASL interpreters, facilitate communication between the visual language of ASL and the spoken language of English. Interpreters are in the classroom not just for the deaf student, but actually for you and the class as well, because if everybody happened to know ASL, then their service would not be necessary. CART providers are communication access real-time translators who will transcribe every word that is being said in a particular setting. This is similar to the closed captions that you see on TV. It's important to note here that both interpreters and captioners who might be assigned to your class won't be participating in the classroom or the meeting. They're there only to interpret or to transcribe everything that is being said, so there's no need to engage them in any kind of way. Now some communication etiquette considerations. Speak directly to your student who uses ASL or uses captioning in your class, just like you would any other student in your class. There's no need to ask the interpreter or the captioner to relay a question or a comment on your behalf. Instead, just ask the question directly to the student, and then they'll respond to you directly as well. Now, if the student uses ASL, it's likely that they will have the interpreter voicing all of the comments that they're making in sign language. And so you'll hear the interpreter's voice, and the interpreter will be voicing everything in first person as the deaf student. So they'll respond directly to you in that way. Now, if the interpreter ever needs to clarify something or interject for any reason, they will identify themselves. And so you know that it is them who misheard or misunderstood something that you just said and not the student. Also, language processing takes a little bit of time. So you'll notice that there may be a slight delay in the interpretation or in the captioning that is being relayed. Just be mindful of that when you ask a question of an individual or of the entire group, and give a quick pause after you've asked that question to allow for the interpretation to finish and then for anybody to be able to comment or ask a question if they have one. It's also really important that you set up turn-taking rules, or what you would like that to look like at the beginning of the term. That is a great way of making sure that everybody's comments or thoughts are expressed and shared in an equitable kind of way. Some options are using the hand-raising tool inside of Zoom or another platform and then calling on students when they have comments or questions. If you have a class that has all of the videos on, you could ask students to visually raise their hand or make some kind of a gesture, and then that way everybody knows to direct their attention to them. Alternatively, if you have students using the chat function to ask questions or to make comments, that is another option that you can use, but some more tips on how to manage the chat piece as a visual source of information coming up on the next slide. The most unique challenge of teaching and learning in a remote space is the fact that all of the visual information that is typical in a classroom is now condensed onto one screen in front of you. So you have a PowerPoint, the presenter, the students, and a chat function all in the same place, in addition to potentially having captioning services or sign language interpreters as well. So it's important for you as an instructor to try to focus students' attention on one source of visual information at a time. That will help them to really focus on that one piece and then fully engage as well. So if you're sharing some lecture slides that you've prepared and there's a quote or something that you want people to look at and analyze, ask students to read that slide and wait to start discussing that slide until people have finished. So give a quick pause, let people read that text, and then you can begin the dialogue about it. If you're using the chat function to help facilitate these kinds of dialogues, that's totally fine, but it's important to remember that captioning might actually overlap with the chat function, making it difficult for students to read. It also might be difficult for people to read what's happening in the slides and the chat and pay attention to your lecture. So if you do use the chat, make sure you read out loud those comments or those questions that are important, because that way everybody can benefit from that conversation that's happening in that window. This approach really benefits all learners, learners of different types, people who have different types of learning disabilities, and also the deaf and hard of hearing students in your class. One quick note on asynchronous recordings. If you're planning to record some of your lectures ahead of time, make sure that you have enabled captions in the platform that you plan to use, and then save to the cloud of that platform as well. This will automatically generate a transcript that uses speech recognition technology. It's really important to note here, though, those transcripts are not going to be 100% accurate. So it'll be really important that you review the recording in its entirety and make edits in the transcript where you notice that things are misspelled or acronyms are used or email addresses are stated. Also, if you're sharing videos that you did not create yourself, please look for a closed caption version of that video to share instead of one that does not have closed captions. If you're using a video that you might have found on YouTube, you can always contact the person who created or posted that video and ask them to turn on captions. Lastly, a few final considerations. Consider using a headset to reduce background noise and to improve the clarity of your speech. I always recommend that people wear earbuds that have a microphone that is on a cord or a headset that has an adjustable microphone on it. Integrated microphones on computers often pick up a lot of ambient noise that we don't even realize is around us and make it harder for your speech to come through really clearly. Also, earbuds, even though they are very popular, don't really aid in the clarity of speech either, because the microphone is located so far away from your mouth. Also, important to be yourself here. There's no need for you to slow down your speech considerably or exaggerate mouth movements because you have a student in your class who's deaf or hard of hearing. Be yourself, but also incorporate some of these considerations to make this a successful term in this remote space. I also recommend that people check in with students, especially after you get through the first week or two, just to see how the technology piece is working and see if anybody has any feedback that they'd like to share. I think we're all forging this path together in this remote learning space, and so being open to that feedback or to making adjustments as needed really goes a long way. For more information on how to make digital content accessible, feel free to visit the University of Chicago's Center on Digital Accessibility for more information. We're also more than happy to meet with you at any time to go over any questions or concerns that you may have. Our contact information is found at the bottom of this slide, and we look forward to working with you to make your class as accessible as possible.